taxes have risen, our ability to pay has fallen, government of all kinds is faced by serious curtailment of income, the means of exchange are frozen in the currents of trade, the withered leaves of industrial enterprise lie on every side, farmers find no market for their produce, and the savings of many years in thousands of families are gone.
We will continue our programs for world economic recovery. This means, first of all, that we must keep our full weight behind the European recovery program. We are confident of the success of this major venture in world recovery. In addition, we must carry out our plans for reducing the barriers to world trade and increasing its volume. Economic recovery and peace itself depend on increased world trade.
I've submitted two different programs. The first program I submitted put as much of a burden as we possibly could on the states. The second one took a little more on the federal government, and that calls for $451 million in the current budget. Now, Congress in its wisdom can say the time is not propitious. If it isn't, I imagine, with our growing population, the deficit will increase rather than decrease. If you're going to save this money, you've got to look at programs. You cannot just say, we take out 25 million here, 50 million there, 150 there, and be doing anything except kidding yourself.
We must show the world what a free economy can do to reduce unemployment, to put unused capacity to work, to spur new productivity, and to foster higher economic growth.
On many occasions, I have pointed out that without a tax bill or decreased expenditures, next year's deficit would again be around $20 billion. I have emphasized the need to set strict priorities in our spending. I have stressed that failure to act would raise very strong doubts.
2 million workers have been released from the armed forces and defense plants because of our success in winding down the war in Vietnam. Putting those people back to work is one of the challenges of peace, and we have begun to make progress. Our unemployment rate today is below the average of the 4 peacetime years of the 1960s. But we can and we must do better than that.
A stable American economy cannot be sustained if the world's economy is in chaos. International cooperation is absolutely essential and vital.
Our economy offers greater prosperity for more of our people than ever before. Real per capita income and real business profits have risen substantially in the last 2 years. Farm exports.
And let's begin by discussing how to maintain economic growth by controlling, eventually eliminating the problem of federal deficits. We have had a balanced budget only 8 times in the last 57 years. For the first time in 14 years, the federal government spent less in real terms last year than the year before. We took $73 billion off last year's deficit compared to the year before. The deficit itself has moved from 6.3% of the gross national product to only 3.4%.
But there are reasons to be optimistic about our economy. First, we don't have to fight double-digit inflation. Second, most industries won't have to make big cuts in production because they don't have big inventories piled up. And third,
first, the largest deficit reduction in history, nearly $500 billion, with more spending cuts than tax increases. Rather than the games and gimmicks of the past, this plan has 200 specific spending cuts, and it reduces government spending by more than $250 billion. We cut more than 100,000 positions from the federal payroll by attrition. We freeze discretionary spending for 5 years. We limit pay increases for federal employees. Why must we take extraordinary action now? Well, this chart shows you why. America faces a choice. We can continue on the path of higher deficits.
We are in the midst of a serious financial crisis, and the federal government is responding with decisive action. We boosted confidence in money market mutual funds and acted to prevent major investors from intentionally driving down stocks for their own personal gain. Most importantly, my administration is working with Congress to address the root cause behind much of the instability in our markets. Financial assets related to home mortgages have lost value during the housing decline, and the banks holding these assets have restricted credit. As a result, our entire economy is in danger. So I propose that
on pushing this economy forward, repairing the damage that's been done to the middle class over the past decade, and promoting the growth we need to get our people back to work. So, as Congress prepares to return to session, my economic team is hard at work in identifying additional measures that could make a difference in both promoting growth and hiring in the short term and increasing our economy's competitiveness in the long term. Steps like extending the tax cuts for the middle class that are set to expire this year, redoubling our investment in clean energy and R&D.
We had launched the great American comeback. Today I'm proud to declare that the United States is in the midst of an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen before. We've regained our stride, rediscovered our